I gotta go.
I am a god.
Okay.
Welcome to your weekly ticket. Well, it's official. Madonna will be directing a biopic on her own life. The star has tapped Oscar-winning writer Diablo Cody to co-write the screenplay. The Untitled project will be distributed through Universal and will document her coming up as an artist in New York in the 80s and her interactions with Andy Warhol, Keith Haring, and Jean-Michel Basquiat. While Madonna has confirmed it will not be a musical, it will focus heavily on her career. Madonna said in a statement, "The focus of this film will always be music. Music has kept me going and art has kept me alive. There are so many untold and inspiring stories, who better to tell it than me? It's essential to share the roller coaster ride of my life with my voice and my vision." Madonna has previously directed two features, Filth and Wisdom and W.E., which took home a Golden Globe Award in 2011. Lee Isaac Chung will direct Paramount's live-action adaptation of the hit Japanese movie Your Name. Chung, who directed the Sundance-winning film Minari, has been tapped to rewrite the screenplay, which had prior drafts by Emily V. Gordon and Arrival screenwriter Eric Heiserer. This reimagined sci-fi love story centers on a teenage boy and girl from different parts of Japan who discover they can swap bodies. While they're separated by time and space, when a disaster threatens to upend their lives, they must journey to meet and save their worlds. And Jeff Goldblum, James Marsden, and Eva Longoria have signed on to be a part of the A-list voice cast for the Boss Baby sequel. Alec Baldwin will return to voice Boss Baby Ted, with Jimmy Kimmel and Lisa Kudrow reprising their roles as Ted's parents. Tom McGrath, who directed the first film, will also return to direct the sequel. The DreamWorks animated film, which is titled The Boss Baby Family Business, is scheduled to be released on March 26, 2021. Friday marks the 45th anniversary of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and we're celebrating by highlighting Fandango Now's list of midnight movies. This list includes a mix of genres, anything from Jim Sharman's The Rocky Horror Picture Show to Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey. And today, our guest is senior editor at Collider Haleigh Foutch to give us her personal recommendations from the list. Haleigh, what is your ultimate midnight movie?
Well, I have two recommendations for you today, which I actually think would make a really excellent double feature, because they're a killer contrast about the highs and lows of friendship. They've both got good, actually original songs for their fictional bands. And they both, like a lot of midnight movies, didn't find their audience at first, but have developed this really passionate fan base over the years. And first up is Jennifer's Body, which is Karen Kusama's 2009 horror comedy that was scripted by Diablo Cody. And the film kind of arrived at the peak backlash against Juno and Megan Fox, who stars. And it's just a standout example of like a completely mismarketed film, because they sold it as this silly, sexy slasher built around how sexy Megan Fox is. And it's actually a super sharp, insightful, stylish horror comedy that's all about toxic teenage friendships and the corrosive toll of assault and how that impacts your relationships. And it should have been the film that made Megan Fox a juggernaut star, because she's incredible in it. She stars as this teenage it girl who gets possessed by a demon after a ritual sacrifice gone wrong. And it focuses on the aftermath of that trauma, how it affects her relationship with her best friend Needy, played by Amanda Seyfried, also super underrated a lot of the time. It's just funny and freaky, it's sexy, it's subversive, and it holds up as super relevant all these years later. And as a bonus, it's got great appearances from Kyle Gallner, J.K. Simmons, and Adam Brody, and I dare you to get through the trees out of your head. And then, after you go dark with Jennifer's Body, you can sort of boost your mood with Harry Elfont and Deborah Kaplan's 2001 live-action adaptation of JOSIE and the Pussycats. It is like a perfect counterpoint about friendship. It stars Rachel Lee Cook, Rosario Dawson, Tara Reid as JOSIE and the Pussycats. It was similarly dismissed, but has endured thanks to its radiant positivity, an excellent soundtrack that I still listen to this day, and really subtly sly social commentary that tackles manipulative marketing, corporate feminism, and ultimately like how the pure power of friendship can literally save the world. And even if it wasn't just such a pure delight, it would be worth watching to see Parker Posey and Alan Cumming having the time of their lives as the antagonists. But it really ticks all the boxes, and it's just brimming with infectious enthusiasm, giddy, glittery antics, and it's all just the right amount of camp.
Why do you do what you do to me, baby? Yep, okay, see, I just wanted to prove I knew what you were talking about. I never thought about it as a midnight movie before.
I think that it ended up there because the audience had to find itself, right? Like it could have been easily a matinee movie for a bigger audience, but because it wasn't accepted the right way, it sort of built this subculture around it. It's perfect for like rocking out at midnight with your friends.
You're right. And I think the musical element, it makes sense in the sort of midnight movie thing when you look at like a Rocky Horror Picture Show and you want your whole audience engaging and singing and stuff like that. And also the characters have so many good one-liners in that movie.
I can't believe people didn't think it was as funny as it is when it came out, because it makes me cackle.
It's great.
And also, like, for the midnight movie vibe, like the costumes are so flourishy and over the top. You could totally dress up for it if you went to a theater when those things are happening again with your friends and be all glittery and gaudy.
Just an audience full of those cat ears that they're like trying to sell in the movie. But that brings up an interesting point. So what do you think makes a great midnight movie?
So I do think that Josie is a really good example, because I think it is sort of about the subculture, what community that builds up around these films. You know, the practice really took off in the 70s as all the daytime slots were taken up by more mainstream blockbusters, family films, award contenders, that kind of movie that everyone wants to go see, the 4-quadrant films, if you will. Theaters discovered that they could get a new audience in later by showing more provocative, off the beaten path films. And out of that, there really did come this sense of community among midnight films that you still find to this day. It's why Rocky Horror has this legendary decades-long run of these midnight events. Same for The Big Lebowski has themed events all the time. They spring up a subculture and a community around the film. And I think midnight movie, even as a descriptor, speaks more to that community than the content of the films themselves, because they can be anything. They can be horror, musicals, comedies. And it's about the community that comes up around them, rather than trying to say, well, midnight movies have to be campy, they have to be B movies. It's really up to the audience to decide, I think.
That was so well put. I love it. I was expecting to be like, it's gotta be funny, you know? I don't know, but that was, I love it. Well, thank you so much, Haleigh, for coming on the show. Where can people find you?
You can always find me on Collider. You can find me on Twitter at Haleigh Foutch. You can find me on Instagram at Haystack McGroovy. We have a weekly horror podcast called The Witching Hour that I host with the lovely Perry Nemiroff. I'm easy to find. What's
a good horror midnight movie?
Oh gosh, so many. I'm trying. What like really gets a crowd going? Starship Troopers is right on the line of horror, but that gets people wild. Really, any Verhoeven, RoboCop, totally.
That's great. I love it. Would you like to know more? Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Available to watch in theaters on Friday, Kajillionaire.
She learned to forge before she learned to write. Well, actually, that's how she did learn to write.
My favorite movies are the Ocean 11 movies. This is exactly the kind of thing that I've been wanting.
Con artists Teresa and Robert have spent 26 years training their only daughter, Old Dolio, to swindle, scam, and steal at every opportunity. During a desperate, hastily conceived heist, they charm a stranger into joining their next scam, only to have their entire world turned upside down. The film stars Evan Rachel Wood, Deborah Winger, Gina Rodriguez, and Richard Jenkins. And available to watch at home on Friday, Ava.
Why would someone not want you to be alive anymore?
What are you talking about? Code 8227.
Confirmed. Subject's close.
Ava, played by Jessica Chastain, is a deadly mercenary who works for a Black Ops organization traveling the globe and specializing in high-profile hits. Ava's career takes a bad turn when a high-profile job goes wrong due to faulty information provided to her. With a botched hit, Ava is told to take a hiatus until the heat blows over, but secretly the head of the organization, Simon, has ordered a hit on her to ensure nothing traces back to the company. With the recent death of her father, she decides to go back home in an attempt to mend her relationship with her mother and sister. Ava must now save her family and herself from multiple threats while battling her own demons. Alright, well that's all I got for you today. Make sure to check out that list of midnight movies and let us know which one is your favorite. I'm Kale, and I'll see you next time.